In parts of East Africa, there are reports of fire incidents that don't behave like normal fire. One of the most discussed cases comes from rural forest edge communities in Kenya, where unexplained fires have occurred under strange conditions. In these areas, people live close to dry land, wooden homes, and forest edges. Fire is always a risk, but usually there is a cause, a spark, a lamp, a cooking fire, something explainable. But in these particular incidents, something was missing. The cause: villagers reported waking up to chaos, homes already burning, structures collapsing, animals fleeing, but no one could point to where the fire began. No one saw the start. No one heard the warning. It was as if the fire simply existed. And this is where the story becomes unsettling, because investigators arriving later often found something unusual: fire damage patterns that didn't always match a single ignition point. In some areas, burning seemed to appear in multiple places almost at once, which made tracing the origin extremely difficult, and that created confusion. Was it environmental conditions? Was it human activity? Or something else being misunderstood? Official explanations often point to dry vegetation, wind, and rapid fire spread, and in many cases, that is enough to explain destruction. But not all reports fit neatly into that explanation, because witnesses sometimes describe something more disturbing: a silence before the fire, no crackling sound at the beginning, no visible smoke early on, just sudden realization that something had already started, and by then, it was too late. Entire homes could be affected quickly in dry conditions. That part is not unusual in rural fire disasters. But what makes these stories stay in memory is not just the fire itself, it's the feeling that there was no clear beginning point, no moment where people could say, it started here. And when a disaster has no clear origin, it creates a gap in understanding, and that gap is where mystery grows. Some researchers suggest wind-driven spread or unnoticed ignition sources. Others focus on environmental dryness and fast-moving flame behavior. But villagers who experienced it often describe something simpler: it was there, then it was everywhere. And that statement is what makes it disturbing, because humans understand danger when we can see it start. A flame, a spark, a cause. But when the beginning is unclear, fear becomes stronger, not because of what fire does, but because of how fast understanding disappears. And in these accounts, that understanding never fully arrives. Even today, fire remains a natural part of dry environments across Africa, but some stories still circulate quietly in affected regions. Stories of sudden ignition, fast spread, no clear origin. And that leaves a question that science continues to study: how much of what we call sudden disaster is truly sudden, and how much begins in ways we simply fail to see in time? Because sometimes, the most frightening part of fire is not the flames themselves. It is the moment you realize you never saw where it started. History is not old. History is living inside us. One day, one event, one lesson. Mr. Fidi,